This is fine. This is fine. This is a poor substitute for therapy, but an excellent substitute for other podcasts.
We're not like other podcasts.
Join us as we find the answers to the universe's biggest questions like, is butter a carb? Does crying burn calories? And what the fuck am I doing with my life? We're here to be your part-time therapist, astrologer, concierge doctor, and fairy godmother. Do you need someone to validate you today? Cool. Come on in. We're fine. This is fine. Welcome to the first official episode of This is Fine. I'm your host, Dominique, and I am so grateful you're here. To kick things off on our new adventure together, I wanted to look at the months ahead and see what hot girl summer is going to look like. And I wanted to share one of my passions, which is obviously astrology. So I brought in the absolute master in this field, my dear friend and my moon mom, oracular astrologer Shannon Aganza. You may know Shannon's work already from her decades of practice and her community moon gathering. Shannon is not only an unbelievable cosmic translator and channel, but also an exceptional educator, and she's been a wonderful mentor to me. The first day I met her, I literally knew 2 words of astrology. They were Virgo and Libra, and I had no idea that there was anything outside of a sun sign. Fast forward a few years, and I've sponged up what feels like eons of information from her brilliant and generous mind. I am so excited that you now get to experience her magic and learn from her as well. All right, enough of me blabbing. Let's get into it. Before we get started, today's episode of This is Fine is brought to you by absolutely no one because we don't have advertisers yet. This is our very first guest episode, and if you would like to support our show, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/thisisfinepodcast. If you don't have the means to sign up on Patreon, we'd sincerely appreciate a 5-star rating, if you feel we've earned it, of course, and if you've subscribed to the podcast itself. It all helps us grow. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, the very first episode of This is Fine.
Oh my God, so honored.
I'm honored you're here. And thank you for helping me pick this beautiful day that we are releasing the podcast, June 18th.
Yep. This is an election. This is using astrology for your betterment.
Well, let's talk about that. Like, what's special about this day? What brought us to June 18th?
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, in the interim, before we even get into that, the podcast is called This is Fine. Are you fine today? I'm fine. We get a thumbs up.
Fine.
I'm fine.
It's all good.
Everything's fine.
So looking at the chart, we're going right into the deep end of astrology.
Yeah. Advanced.
Advanced. Because that is a huge part of my practice is electing days. That's what electional astrology is. We're coming up with a day of trying to sort of harmonize. You could think of it as harmonizing with nature because we have all these multiple cycles going on at all times with the planets. And it's wonderful when we can find that sweet spot where we have planets in signs that they're happy.
Yeah.
And conversations that the planets are having with each other are on a harmonious side, or if we need, not for today, but if we need to take care of business, sometimes we want to utilize some of the stronger transits that, like if we need to undo something or have that difficult conversation that we want either a finality to it or we want to open the door to something. And so astrologically, we always have these cycles going on where we can kind of, swim into that cycle. And for today, looking at the election, it's funny because we came up with this day a while ago. And one of the big things that is wonderful for a podcast is we have the sun is in Gemini. So there's our first order of business.
Exactly.
Gemini.
I couldn't not release a podcast in Gemini season. Who am I?
Exactly. And that, that's transmission of information and we're having conversation and, you want to, for the lifespan of this podcast is you are giving us pieces of information that we might not have had access to otherwise.
Cool.
And sharing with us your ability to communicate and your ability to talk to people with, deep knowledge base and whatever it is that, whatever conversations you're having, but it's done in a way with this chart to educate and and have inquisitiveness ignited in people. And so they may take what you offer them and do their own investigation.
Love that. So the Gemini curiosity.
Gemini curiosity. And then the ruling planet of Gemini is Mercury. Exactly. And so we have Mercury also in Gemini. Exactly. Yay.
I love that energy.
It is a very good energy, and that it just amplifies and strengthens that communication, the conversations. We also have, I love this too, Venus is in Taurus, which is
beautiful.
So beautiful. The place of Taurus is where Venus rules, is her domicile, is where she has strength. And so we know also with this podcast, the lifespan of the podcast, that it isn't just about short bits of information or just staying in our head. It's information that we can take and saturate into our body and nourish ourselves, and it can be usable, And then the moon is in Aquarius.
Yes.
Saturn Aquarius, which I actually like a moon Saturn Aquarius trining.
Yeah.
So we're trining the sun.
Yes.
So it's sort of, how do we say that? The moon moves very quickly, right? It goes through a sign in 2 1/3 days. So we're taking it and placing it with a planet that stabilizes and creates sort of like tent poles of the new vision. That's Saturn in Aquarius.
Okay.
So we're able to have discussions too that even, blows your mind, expand, and that Saturn helps the sticking energy.
Cool.
So again, really usable information. And then Mars is really strong. Mars is in Aries. So we have a lot of planetary strength here.
Planets in their happy places.
Planets in happy places.
Trining is always fun.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know what that means, that's an aspect that is particularly harmonious, right?
Yes, it is the easiest, most flowing energy.
Right.
Is a trine.
Based on degrees, right? So that would be
120 degrees.
Okay. And 90 is a square.
That's right.
Okay. And then we've got sextile, which is also harmonious, but a little less than trine.
Half of a trine.
Okay.
So it's all the
60.
geometry. We're just jumping right in, aren't we?
Right into the math.
I love it. So a trine, if you think of it in terms of a triangle, it's breaking the circle into 3.
Yes.
A sextile is breaking the circle into 6.
Okay.
So it's half
of those triangles.
of a trine.
Okay. Cool.
And it creates opportunity, the hand coming out. You still have to act with a sextile, where a trine will just naturally flow.
Okay.
For you.
In the flow.
In the flow.
Wow.
So we're in the flow.
Wow. My baby podcast has a beautiful birth chart.
And one more little thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't help it.
Please.
We do have that Venus in Taurus, and it's very close to the North Node, the higher purpose, that governing direction. Where are we going? What are we moving towards?
Yeah.
If we do that, we're doing great. It's also in Taurus, then a few degrees. So that also is very good for, again, good information, practical, usable information. And that is the sort of energy we're all under right now, as long as the North Node is in Taurus, South Node is in Scorpio, until about July 17th of 2023.
Next year. Okay.
Next year. This is sort of the governing energy, the overarching energy.
For the collective.
For the collective, exactly. We're
cool.
all looking to, self-nourish. What do I need?
Yeah.
Learning how to take care of ourselves, being self-sufficient, simplifying, breaking things down.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. A lot of times the answer to a problem is not adding more complexity. It's about removing.
Right.
And simplifying. So that's that Taurus energy.
Edit it down. I love that as a Virgo, obviously.
Yeah, that's it. And the South Node in Scorpio, that's what we're refining and clearing. Right. And so South Node in Scorpio sort of brings it up. I have a really morbid analogy with Scorpio, especially South Node in Scorpio.
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's where all the bodies are buried, is what I say, and that is Scorpio. Yeah. And with the South Node in Scorpio, it's like those those waters are being dredged.
Oh, damn. That is morbid.
It is. We're dealing, and that is kind of the energy we're dealing with, but it's not a negative. It's pulling things up. So we're having things pulled up in the collective as well as within our own life, especially looking at your own natal chart. Anybody can see where is Scorpio living.
Right.
And that area of life will tell you a lot about where, if you're going to do some refinement work, you'll get the most bang for your buck if you pick that area by house. And if you have planets there, so that's why too, any of the fixed signs, so Scorpio being the dominant one with this, Taurus
Leo,
gets a little, Aquarius and Leo are the 4 signs that kind of feel this nodal track now through July of next year. But this, the Scorpio planets are going to get the most thorough detox.
Wow. Okay.
We could say.
Yeah.
And it is not a negative thing. Like many of my Scorpio clients, those, of course, if you have your sun in Scorpio, it'll be even a little bit more intense. But the ones who are just, I submit, I surrender. Okay, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look at this dead body in the river. It's like, cool. I'm dealing with it. Yeah. And the breakthrough is unbelievable. Cool. And we're only like months into this season, into this particular season.
So the moral of the story is if you don't fight it, it's going to be great.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like really, you can release and have that, euphoria. There's a reason why, some people would say, orgasm falls under the Scorpio energy.
Okay, yeah, that tracks.
You let go, it's like,
it's actually a good thing.
It's actually a good thing. So, yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so we went over this beautiful birth chart, the energy that we're going through today, as in the day that this is being released. Obviously, we're recording in advance because I am nothing if not a planner. Let's maybe look a little bit further out since we're kind of at the halfway point in 2022. What is on the cosmic agenda for the back half? Is there anything crazy going on in Cancer season, Leo season? I know we're going to check in before Virgo season. What's going on lately?
Well, the thing we're building towards, I'm just going to jump straight to the end of July.
Cool.
Is what I'm going to look at here. I am moving ahead here. There's a transit, like I've kind of targeted a few of the bigger transits for this year.
Okay.
And this is one of them where we have, back to that node, the North Node in Taurus is joining with the planet Uranus, the planet of shift, change,
the shake-up.
Breakup. Breakthrough, breaking density up in order to break through. And the planet Mars. And so they're all joining at 18 degrees from July 31st until about August 7th is the way we can look at it. Well, the energy is strong from July 31st to August 2nd because that's when, by August 7th, is where Mars then moves ahead to make an exact square with Saturn.
Ah, okay.
So we kind of start this energy, and let's even backtrack a little bit more to July 2nd.
Okay.
So that's right around the corner. That's when Mars enters Taurus. And the last time Mars entered Taurus was, oh my gosh, I'm not going to remember the date. I think it's January 8th is what I want to say.
Of last year?
Of when we had what was that called? The insurgents?
Insurrection.
Insurrection.
Sorry. All right. We're screaming.
It's like,
It's fine.
And I'm not saying, not trying to go there in a bad, dark way, but just for context, because that's what we do with astrology, right? Is we go back and see what happened. Yeah, patterns. Mm-hmm. What happens when this energy comes up? And so we know that was a few years ago. It takes Mars a couple years to get back to the same place it was. So that kind of gives a little background context of like, okay, heated.
Right.
Mars coming into
that square,
Taurus.
yeah.
And Mars is not in its happy place when it's in Taurus.
Right. It's moved out of Aries, right, where it was pretty happy.
Yes, exactly. It's moved out of Aries where it feels like it can get its job done without anything interfering with it. What makes it weak in Taurus or unhappy is that it's opposite the other sign that it rules, which is Scorpio.
Right. Okay.
So it's working in opposition to its natural home. And so that's a little why, it's that bent up frustration that just, not knowing how, if you've ever been around people that don't know how to express their emotions in a healthy, flowing way.
No, I've never met anyone like that.
Exactly.
For sure.
And so we have that kind of brewing. So it kind of can feel something coming up. And the peak of this is really when it does meet that planet Uranus, which has been in Taurus since 2018, May of 2018. We've been in a sort of cycle. And Uranus is a little bit past its midpoint of its cycle, of its job, of what it's trying to do in Taurus.
Okay.
And really, if we, just little tiny recap on that, we might have talked about that, together other times.
Yeah.
But when we think of the planet Uranus, it's the most, it changes and shifts and it explodes. And I call it an earthquake planet.
Yeah, totally.
So you have the most, when I say volatile, think of like volatile chemicals.
For sure.
Like things reacting with each other and just...
Mentos and Diet Coke.
Yeah, exactly. And so we have that in the sign that is the most stable, the most unmovable.
Earth, fixed Earth.
Fixed Earth is what Taurus is. And that's why they get a bad rap for being stubborn, where they're just, their job is to hold space.
Yep.
And they just unyielding, stillness. And so, I mean, you can do the math on that.
Yeah.
It's like, if you don't yield, you break.
Yeah.
And so we
That's
have
a good quote. Yeah.
So we have that planet Uranus with Mars, which is just like fuel.
Angsty.
Yeah. I always say, like, when we have Mars and Uranus together in any sign, it's like, think of bent metal. It's like
cool.
Things, it just, we have kind of explosive energy. So on the best case scenario, we want to just watch our language around this time.
Okay.
To not go to volatility.
Patience,
and just also just allowing to be, when I say enlightened, what I mean is being able to see something outside of the density of like looking down on the ground, what your daily thing is,
right?
And then we add the North Node in there. So all of these are joining at 18 degrees of Taurus. And so the North Node, at least what this tells me in my translation, is whatever jostling needs to happen, whatever movement, shakeup is happening, it's that thing that kind of has to happen in order for us to move forward.
Okay.
So wherever anything has been stuck, this is the beauty of astrology. If we know that's what's happening, let's put the things in the path of it that need breaking up, shifting.
Okay.
And trying to be aware of, like I said, not moving with violent words, violent communication. What we may see in the bigger picture, we might be looking at a few world events,
Okay.
And what I would say is whatever's coming in, it might be that catalyst to get us to the repair.
Okay.
That might get us to where we need to be. You know how that is? You just have, you break your nose, you need to reset it.
Yep.
And it's like, ow. I mean, I've never had a broken nose, but it looks like it hurts.
It looks pretty bad.
And so, you have to do that, but then you have we heal the nose or whatever it is. So
it does sound kind of similar to the energy you were talking about with the South Node in Scorpio, where maybe it doesn't look like an appealing thing to do, but once it's done, you get through to the other side and things are healed better, rearranged in the right way.
So that's the other thing. that we have the South Node in Scorpio.
Okay.
What is the ruling planet of the South Node?
Mars.
Mars.
Yeah.
It is joined with the most volatile planet.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
In the direction we're supposed to be moving.
Okay.
So it is trying to get us to where we need to go.
Very strong signal.
But in the moment, it's extremely hot. It's
Tense.
very tense,
Okay.
heated. And again, if there are things we need to burn, throw in the fire, we can.
Okay.
And just a little, I could be totally off on this, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Mhm.
That other scenarios, Taurus, because we, like, in time of when we're recording this, there have been the topics of food shortages.
Right.
Taurus is also our food. It's our
Yep.
food supply, grain. This might kind of come into people's consciousness about, oh, this is real. And it may be as simple as, oh, I can't have my Fuji apple out of season. It could be
For sure.
that is the most like, awareness. Because I
Right.
think we've become so conditioned to think, oh, we can have whatever we want at any
Whenever
time.
we want. Yep.
And back we go to North Node in Taurus, which is simplifying
Right.
and being able to see things in reality, see things for what they are.
Okay.
Sometimes minimizing, I don't know, as a mother of adult children, when you give you just give a couple choices. You don't overwhelm. And somehow
Okay.
there's like a peace with that.
Yeah, totally. It's like the opposite when you feel so overwhelmed when you go into a store and there are like a million options.
Right.
Like I remember being in college going to a Forever 21 and turning around and walking out because there were so many things. I just freaked out.
Virgo.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Overwhelm.
Can't do it. Bye.
Yeah. Abort. Out.
Abort mission. 100%, yes. But that makes so much sense. That's why kids' menus are so short.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And
Yeah.
that simplification can be very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, the other topic,
Yeah.
Taurus rules money,
Possessions.
resources.
Yeah.
And so we might be looking at our finances in a different way.
Okay.
And part of this, which I'm all for, is really being able to take an honest look at finances. This is a really good window. So again, let's just jump in the river of flow.
Get right into it.
And just get right into it.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing that Scorpio is debt. So the ruling planet of Scorpio is showing us where our money is being spent, not being spent.
Wow.
So we might be looking at this again on a bigger,
Okay.
expanse, like on a national to
Right.
global
National
level,
debt. Yeah.
all the way down to our own personal finances. So
I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. I'm not going to do that.
this is like to utilize Virgo energy. And by the way, like on July 31st and August 1st, the moon is in Virgo.
Oh, love that for us.
Training. But this is good. This is, again, using astrology, for your benefit.
Okay.
So, Virgo, it's the editor, it's the accountant.
Right.
And it moves quickly. And it is in trine. We just went over trines.
Yeah.
It's in harmony. It's like, I am trying to make this easy for you.
Let me help you.
Let me help you.
Amazing.
This is work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And so we have this window, again, where we can be in our own world, kind of sort of taking inventory. So again, this can be at any level
Okay.
of personal to how, our shared finances. And again, looking at, the bigger picture. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we find out, oh, this is what we spend our nation spends money on, doesn't spend money on. Like all those things where it's like, oh, just waking up, tuning in, being able to be conscious. I think, kind of bringing in just another little side note on this. Pluto is at the same degree, 27 degrees, Capricorn.
Okay.
As the nation's Pluto.
Oh, right. It's the Pluto return.
Yeah, this is it in retrograde. So Pluto is retrograde going over this spot. And, I kind of have languaged this in a way in the past that a Pluto return for a nation is like a Saturn return for a person based on, our lifespan.
Okay.
So when we have our first Saturn return, it's the beginning of really adulting.
Right.
Like you're
So
considered an adult.
28 to 30-ish.
Yep, 27 and a half to
27.
30.
Okay, there we go.
Is when that kind of comes in. And so it's becoming responsible and like you get whacked when you're not being responsible. It's why it can kind of be, for some people it's a tough time, but another, if you go with the flow and be responsible, it is a common time people tend to get married or have children. So they have this responsibility to something else.
Added on.
But with a nation, Pluto returns, it takes, close to 250 years to do that trek. And this, again, is our first one. It's our nation adulting. And the reason why I'm saying this is to link in, what we were talking about before, that we've, I think there are parts of being American, at least in our country, where we've just taken for granted certain things.
Yep.
And we've had a pretty, things have flowed in a way where we don't want to look at how does that happen, or not looking at the terrible sides of our society and what gets pushed under the rug and out of our gaze. And I think that that's part of what's coming up with this too is, no, we are global citizens. We are all humans. And it's that taking responsibility for the whole.
Yep,
and
the collective.
The collective, and just even like, how are these laws put into effect? And how does this work, to not support different communities and different groups? And so we're adulting, where we're coming into, I need to be responsible.
Yeah. It's
so
like a reevaluation.
So I know I'm going kind of serious. I don't mean to do that, but this just kind of is, I think, the backbone of some of these bigger subject matters of the nodes right now. And that's the thing. South Node in Scorpio, and Scorpio is not a bad sign. Like it just...
We love Scorpio.
We love Scorpio.
Yeah.
We love you, Scorpio. Don't hurt us.
Don't be mad.
Don't be mad at us.
We're not your enemies.
But it is, it's such a strong, like, empowered sign, but it holds, that deeper energy has to be held somewhere, right?
Right.
And so Scorpio is the one responsible for kind of holding those deeper, maybe the hidden things we don't normally get to look at.
Cool.
And so I'm just bringing this up again. Hopefully this is like, oh my gosh, what was she talking about? No big deal. Great job. That is my hope, But having, again, the ruling planet, Mars, in Taurus, trying to get us to see what's real.
Yeah.
Because that's what Taurus is. Taurus is one of the most black and white planets, meaning I can hold this in my hand. I know it's real because I feel it on my skin.
Yes.
It's very basic, and so it's trying to get us to, okay, this is what's real. This is what really matters, so that we can get to where we need to get to. And even adult, like I said, as a nation. So I just bring that in again, because that Pluto...
28 degrees.
It's 27 on this particular transit.
Okay.
So the July 31st as we move forward. And then as Mars, then it will continue. So we may open a few things up and imagine, so Mars then moves, gets fueled up by Uranus.
Okay.
In the North Node.
At a Tesla charging station.
Tesla charging. That's exactly right.
Perfect.
Perfect. Uranian energy. And then, squares, as you said earlier, it's breaking the circle into a square,
right,
90
with
degrees.
Saturn, right?
Yes, with Saturn. And so Saturn already is not really a yielding planet itself. Right. It contracts and it pulls in, and it's sort of the, this is the work we need to do right now. And it's in an unyielding sign. Right. That's Aquarius.
Fixed.
Thank you. It's fixed. And what's nice is that of all the fixed signs, Aquarius, it's confusing to people sometimes that it's a fixed sign, because it's so much about vision and expansion and the unusual and be yourself. But it really, it does hold vision, but when we connect with it, it's trying to stabilize a future vision. Where is the next place we can go? Where do we need to go? Like that's a bit of I think the square kind of hits that. So we may see things, like I said, globally, even with other countries. You know, we have a lot at this moment. There's still a lot going on.
Totally.
Between Russia and Ukraine. So we might be seeing a few of those things, or borders being, trying to be pressed through. You know, that's the other thing. And Mars comes in, it's trying to break the structure. It's
and Uranus is
through.
There too.
Yeah, and Uranus is behind, like it just got fueled by Uranus.
Yeah.
Again, we're moving forward to what's our next plan? What are we going to stabilize and move through?
This is a much nicer Mars square Saturn than when I learned about Mars square Saturn, which I believe was when Mars was in Aries, Saturn was in Capricorn in like 2020. That was my first intro really into aspects. And I just remember thinking, this is terrible.
Well, the reason why is Mars had a tremendous amount of strength and Saturn had a tremendous amount of strength.
Okay.
And Saturn was with Pluto.
Oh,
and I believe Jupiter was there as well
at
that point. Trying to remember if it was when Mars was in Aries. So it was compounded, but you had the malefics. So that's the thing. Saturn and Mars in traditional astrology are called malefics or malefics. And I like to call them course correction planets.
That's nicer.
Because I think they are there. They're like, hey, if you just do this, all is well, but you gotta do this, get back on course.
Again, don't fight it. Go with the flow.
Don't fight. Exactly. And so, when those two they both had, it was like, one of those superhero movies.
Yeah.
Really strong bad
Stuff was
guys.
going down.
Stuff was going down. Yeah. And you just had to find shelter, which we did. We were
literally
commanded to shelter.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy how it's so literal sometimes?
Yeah, it really is. That's one of the biggest things I've learned from you is how literal some of this stuff can be. It's absolutely wild. But this does sound a lot nicer. Is that true, or am I just hearing what I want to hear right now?
I do have a reputation for trying to spin it in the best case scenario.
Very positive. We're fine.
Well, the thing is I'm not trying to say things that aren't out of the realm of possibility.
Okay.
And that's,
fair.
Again, with the North Node, I would like to say that holding a vision for a better future is there. Like, it's like, I'm trying to help you find this.
Help me help you.
Yep. And the, another level of this is like self-responsibility. That's another Taurus and Mars and Taurus, responsible for my own energy. Like, how am I expressing my energy?
Okay.
That's another big one. And just straight up Astro 101, I call this the zip the lip transit. So like even outside of world events, we have when Uranus and Mars are together, we might say something we regret later.
Yeah.
So I suggest writing things down. Mercury's going to be in Leo during this time. So, no ego involved here. So this could be another situation too where, whether it's world events or within, someone in our sphere, like right next to us, we might think we are so right in our view. And it might do well to stop, listen, do some research, investigate, write it down.
Okay.
Write everything down or say it in a recorder. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Say it in a recorder, what you would say to somebody else, and then listen back and go, okay, I'm happy I didn't say that.
Yeah, I've done that before, actually.
Yeah.
100%.
And then once we get past August 7th, 8th, 9th, things kind of settle.
Okay.
And we can probably see more clearly. And if you still want to say all that, great, go for it.
Okay. Yeah.
I will say when Mercury will be in Virgo by then.
We love that.
we love a good Mercury in Virgo, the other placement of home and exaltation. So Mercury's very strong in Virgo. So that really helps. Yes. It's like, that's the bodybuilder Mercury. But it helps us discern. It helps us refine. It helps us remove, the peripheral energy or getting really heated about things instead of going to the core.
Okay.
And then we may have appropriate anger, but it's useful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a difference.
So it sounds like hot girl summer is going to be responsible, thoughtful, deliberate girl summer.
That's it. I know. I didn't expect to come in and go, happy first podcast.
Honestly, the real talk has already begun and we're already like, this is fine.
This is fine.
It's 100% on brand.
I know. That's so fun. It's like, it's all good.
Everything's okay. We're good. No, but truly, I think understanding what you're heading into can make everything a little bit easier. Like you were saying, like if we can go with the flow and allow things to happen, don't fight the current, basically.
And that's really what this is.
Yeah.
It is we're going to do this. That's the thing. When you have like the planet Uranus and Mars joining, and then Mars going to square Saturn,
just popping off.
You can't, something's going to move. It's very intense energy. And when you have that awareness, like it is the greatest opportunity to find inner awareness.
Okay.
Instead of reacting. You know what I mean? Pull it in, check yourself. Why am I reacting so strongly?
Reflect.
Yeah. And then you can go into solution and be useful.
Okay.
Rather than adding more voices to the conversation of anger. It's like, we get it. We're know.
Angry. Yeah.
What are we going to do? Because Taurus asks us for a solution. And so
I think that's good life advice in general. Just think a little bit more before you speak and reflect and think of what you can do instead of just, like you said, adding voices. What are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a massive transit, and you're doing all of this with a migraine. So I don't want to keep you here too long.
Oh my gosh.
But thank you for forecasting this summer, and we can definitely check in. Obviously, I'm going to want to do a Virgo Libra, season ahead check-in. So that'll be our next one. Is there anything else you want to leave our listeners with on this first inaugural episode, astrology-wise? Or life-wise.
And then not to jump too far ahead, but our next eclipses towards the end of the year, like we're being invited to do the deeper work. And so that's how I look at this transit, as we're warming up in this July, August time. We're being invited to pull up to the surface that which we really need to be working on a personal level.
Cool.
As well, whatever as a global citizen. But with Taurus, I have to say, it is good to, the only thing we're really in control of is ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the end of the day, that just is the truth. And so what can I do to bring more clarity to my life? So it will, you ask that question, it will come up. Mm-hmm. We get to look at it. And then when we hit the eclipses at the end of the year, it'll make it much easier if we're already ahead of.
We started doing the work, planting the seeds.
Yep.
Okay.
It's like homework done.
Yeah.
Early to the airport.
Love that feeling, obviously.
Yeah, Virgo. And then it's easy. Yeah, it's easier to do that work.
Would you say it's important for anyone listening now to look at where Taurus is in their chart? Okay.
Yes, at Taurus and Scorpio.
Okay, and then those houses will basically flavor what you just said.
It will be the environment of where that's happening.
Okay.
So someone who has it in the 1st and 7th house, they are dealing with themselves, especially if you have the South Node in Scorpio in the 1st. Just assume it's you.
Okay, so Scorpio rising, that's for you.
Yeah, Scorpio rising. And then the 7th is the partnership. So you're dealing with self and other.
Okay, me and we.
Me and we, and really refining those relationships.
Cool.
And being able to have a clear sense of self. And even if it hurts for a minute, go into it. And then you'll actually probably move into a loving, forgiving space with yourself.
Yeah.
It's worth doing that work. And then if you have the second house, eighth house axis.
So it'd be Aries or Libra rising, right?
That, oh, yes. Very good.
This is all you're doing. Like any correct answer I have is just a result of your teaching.
That is amazing. You are brilliant because I haven't sat you down and gone through this.
It's been a minute.
You just pick it up. You're so smart.
I'm just doing my homework for school.
Amazing. Yeah, second and eighth.
Okay.
It's really strong around your self-value, how you value yourself, your straight up money.
Yep.
That's second house. Your talents, gifts, abilities, harvesting those if you're not utilizing them, money. And then eighth house. Eighth house is a sticky house.
It's like debt, right?
It's debt. It's death.
Yeah. Secrets.
Secrets. It's shared finances. It's money that, if we're debt, if we're going to get a loan.
Okay.
It's people who will investors, those investing in us.
Inheritance,
okay. Legacies. But really, I think a good focus is, do I have, what is my debt level? Whether it's money, emotional.
Right.
We get to clear that.
Love that.
The third and ninth house.
Okay, so that's going to be Virgo rising and Pisces rising.
I love it.
Yes.
That is communication. How do I communicate? How do I convey what I need? How do I bring in information that I need? That third house is our style. It's literally, this is one of those literal things. Someone with South Node in the third house they knew they needed to fix their car or get a new car, is going to break down. You're going to have to get a new car or it'll die. So it's the way we get from one place to another. It's the short distance. We may be dealing with our siblings.
Ah, okay.
Third house. Ninth house is it's that higher
learning, education.
When you need to have the basics complete.
Okay.
In your mind or in whatever you're studying. So whatever it is, even with it, that's why it's the place of wisdom.
Yeah.
In traditional and Hellenistic astrology, it's the ninth house is the actual house of God.
Cool.
And the third house is the house of goddess. Isn't that beautiful?
I love that. That's my new favorite thing.
Me too.
Yeah.
The goddess was edited out, but it was there.
We're putting her back in.
We're putting her back in.
Right back in.
And so when we need that bigger goal setting, that's ninth house as well.
Cool.
You're being asked to take care of your fill in the information you need to get the bigger stuff done. And it is long distance travel as well.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I am long distance traveling during that time period
that
we just went over.
Oh my gosh.
August 2nd. Anyway, no one needs to know my travel plans right now. Okay, so the next one would be Leo and Aquarius rising.
Yeah, and that is fourth house and 10th house.
Yes, okay.
So those who have the fourth and 10th, and I don't know if we specified this, they will always be opposite.
Yes, okay.
North and South Node are always exactly opposite each other. So it's always in polarity. In the fourth house, it's literally our home. It's beginnings and endings, which is really interesting.
Okay.
So it shows what the beginning of your life has been. So childhood stuff can come up during that time to be refined. It's your actual home. It's where you live. It's your house. So this might be, if Scorpio's there, really good time to do some renovation.
Ooh, yeah.
Check for mold.
Termites.
South Node and Scorpio.
Yeah.
The
stuff in the walls.
The hidden stuff we didn't know. But also just, it's good for renovation. Or like Taurus, if North Node is there, we get more bang for our buck. We're investing in our property. If you own your property.
Cool.
You may also get to move and get to a place you really want to be. It's where we stabilize, where we root. It's our root because it's the base of the chart. And then the top of the chart is where, we have our career. The 10th house is the career.
Like life calling.
It's It's exactly. And how it can be life calling, but it's really your exposure in the outer world.
Okay.
How do you, and so that's why mostly it's career for people. So our career is able to, it gets a little extra energy, whether it's refinement or enhancement. So it's like, traditional Chinese medicine. We could think of it as tonifying or sedating.
Okay, yeah.
South Node, we're sedating, undoing, and Taurus, we're tonifying and enhancing and bringing more energy in.
Yeah.
So things around career, like this is when you want to pull the trigger on making that shift. And so if you natally have this, it means we have Taurus and Scorpio, which is fixed, right? So it might be hard to make that change, So here come the superhero, nodes, because it also means what it brings with it are eclipses. So we know we'll have eclipses. And so it breaks that density up, like I said.
Okay.
So it's the time to pull the trigger and either move or get that new career.
Ooh, that's good to know. So if you're listening and you are a Leo or Aquarius ascendant, this is a big area for you.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah, the exactly Leo Aquarius, which again, we can see it fixed.
Yeah.
I call it your like skeletal structure.
Ooh, I love that.
The cross.
Yeah.
What are your up and down, your horizon line,
right,
and your vertical line, like midheaven to icy at the base.
Yeah.
So tend to be maybe a little rigid sometimes, but really like work hard to get things in a stabilized place. But then it's harder to shift and transition into something new. So there's so much support. So if you don't do it now, Uranus is working already in Taurus for a while. And then we have the nodes there. It's like, do it.
It's now or never.
Now, because it's a lot easier when you have these supports.
Cool.
And then 11th, 5th. I love the 11th and 5th house. Those are kind of easier houses, I'll say.
Okay.
11th, I look at, it's so, this is kind of my perspective in all my years that the 11th house is sort of that seed planting place.
Okay.
In the 9th house, we set goals. In the 11th house, we have vision.
Ooh, I love that.
So it's like, ooh, where do I want to go? Or blueprint. It's like a blueprinting.
Which is very Aquarian, I feel like.
Yeah, it is, which I don't like going down
the sign to house
equals sign. We want to eradicate that.
That's, forget I said anything.
That's it. Yeah.
With stricken from the record.
Sometimes it kind of works, but But 11th is a nicer house, that kind of gets us seeing where do we want to go next?
Starting to manifest.
And where do we join with humanity? What is good for what's for the greater good?
Yeah.
And, might find on a social level that things are, I have new social structures. Maybe some of them, some friendships might be tying up, especially with this transit coming up.
Right.
And that's why we don't want to burn the bridge.
Yeah. Okay.
But we have, we're finding our tribes. That's 11th. And then 5th, it's a playfulness. It's
creative.
Lightheartedness, extremely creative. This is where we get pregnant, birth a child or grow the child.
Right.
It's exciting.
Okay.
And it's usually like, be light.
Okay.
And then our last house
so this was for Cancer and Capricorn rising.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Cancer, Capricorn. Come on. You get an opportunity to, kind of, lighten up a bit.
Lighten up.
Some levity. I mean, they could be fun, not taking you down. But they just usually are kind of holding the pieces for everybody else so that
keeping it
they
together
can all
for all
function.
of us. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, it's okay. Let us figure it out.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out for ourselves and it's okay.
Yeah.
And if we fall, you can give us the little "I told you so," but
and I know you will,
and it's okay. Like, we won't weigh as much to you later.
Yeah, exactly.
We figured it out, and then the last axis,
Gemini Sag,
the 6th and the 12th, and so this is another one. It's kind of we can look at the 6th and 12th. the same as that second and eighth. That's probably where the most work is, people who have them in these houses. It's really interesting because the sixth house is so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is, like your actual job,
Right.
not your career,
But the
your
work.
job,
Yeah.
the work. And it is like if you're looking to have a career, you're probably looking at your job going, oh, I can't do this anymore. I
Okay.
need to, or you become very at peace with it, and that's fine. Sixth house is a lot of self-refinement. Some people call it the house of health. I call it the house of not health.
Oh, interesting.
Because first house is health, because that's like our actual physical body.
Okay.
Sixth house is that's where it shows up when we go into some kind of sickness or needing to take care of things.
Okay.
So if you have this in, 6, 12, especially South Node in Scorpio in the sixth, like this is when you want to do some gentle detoxing. This is when you want to take care of all those things. You want to take care of, get all your doctor office visits, get
like a
your
health refresh.
Get your health refresh. And the more you invest in your health, changing your habits, your dietary habits or your body movement habits. And, no judgment. It's just like finding what works for you.
Right.
But we don't realize there are not any formulas that are straight across the board for everybody.
Universal, yeah.
So you can really find like, oh, this works for me. This other thing doesn't work for me. But we can find that. So that's at sixth.
And that would particularly be for Gemini rising, right? They would have Scorpio in the sixth, and that's like time to do your detox, your refresh.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Okay.
And another way to look at this too is sort of detoxing the mind, like the monkey mind, the overthinking mind.
Some meditation.
Exactly.
Love.
Which is a great link over to the 12th.
Okay. I'm kind of jealous of Gemini risings right now. I'm like, I want to do that. That sounds fun.
And that's the thing. Like if you are Gemini Sag on the axis, that's mutable. Right? So the flexibility that when you put the efforts in, it doesn't, you get a result usually quicker than other signs.
Oh, cool.
Same with Pisces, Virgo.
Right.
Those are the 4 mutable signs.
Love that.
So as soon as they put the effort in, it's like, oh, okay. You get a result faster, but that's also why you can go out of alignment easier too. It doesn't take much to knock you off balance,
right.
But you don't have to work as hard to get in balance.
Okay.
So another way to look at this is creating discipline. This is a really good time to create like that habitual, like integrating it into your daily life.
Routine.
Right. I know discipline is a hard word for some people.
Yeah, I think we associate discipline a lot with negative. And
Right.
that Nina and I have actually talked about this a little bit, where discipline usually, especially I think from our childhood, comes across mentally, emotionally as punishment.
Yeah, it's like Saturn.
Yeah,
Saturn.
You have to discipline your children, punish them. And if you look at it a little bit lighter, at least this is what's been working for us, like we came at it with gentle discipline, a little bit of softness, and not thinking about harshness, punishment, like severe ramifications, but rather structure and guidance for the greater good. This gentle, benefic, I guess.
Yeah,
benefic
it's a way,
discipline.
And two, like the way I look at discipline, it really is about creating a little more mastery over the mind to be able to do the things that you get. Yes, you get the greater benefit later.
The stuff you love.
It just creates more freedom.
Yep.
And so and disciplining the mind, it's just, when I was saying that at the beginning, the monkey brain, the monkey mind, it's being able to take the mind. We don't realize we can take control of that and try to bring it back into center.
We do have that power.
We do, and it's exceedingly challenging in the times right now.
Right.
To not go into that, there's a lot of distraction.
So much input.
So that's another way to look at this with either Scorpio or Taurus. For our mutables, is that it creates that fixed energy needed to keep in place the work you've done.
Cool. It's giving you the structure you need.
It's giving the structure.
Cool.
And so the 12th, we didn't really, 12th. I do look at that as a meditation, like allowing the mind to be in a place. I won't say still enough. Certainly, yeah, if you can do that, hallelujah. But it's just at least directed. This is kind of advanced thinking here, but it's like where the mind becomes the servant of the consciousness. And when we're dealing with consciousness, like this is again me, I look at 12th house in that way, whether we're looking at subconscious.
Okay.
Because it's things that are hidden from us that we may not necessarily see. But when we can tap into ourself on a consciousness level, then that's the guiding force of the mind. And the consciousness is directing the mind.
Okay.
I know that, again,
no, that's really
way
cool.
out there. But that really is 12th. And the 12th is also the, it's like where if we have skeletons in the closet.
Yeah. They're in the 12th.
They're in the 12th.
Cool.
So back we go. It's not the same as the 8th. The 8th house I look at is we know it's there. We're just choosing not to deal with it. Where the 12th, it's like, oh my God, I had no idea. It came out of nowhere. Right. And like, I had no idea that this was what was keeping me in this pattern.
Ah, okay. So if we can identify those things, we could maybe unlock some bad patterns.
Exactly. Okay. And then you're liberated.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it requires a little more reflection, getting out of the monkey mind. So it kind of sounds like the 12th-6th axis needs a lot of meditation during this point.
It's really good to be able to have and by the way, meditation can be, I'm going to go for a run.
Yeah, be in nature.
I'm going to take a yoga class. Yep. I'm going to take a boxing class. I don't know. Where you kind of get, where the mind gets into that, your body's doing a repetitive action.
Yep.
And this is really strong for Gemini. Like they thrive in repetitive body movement is when the mind kind of comes in as the whole body. And so they in particular can,
That's beautiful.
get a lot done. And that's it. Like that's exactly it, that it can be very, very beautiful when we flow into it.
Yeah. It's all about the flow.
It's all about the flow.
If you've taken anything from this conversation, it's all about the flow.
That's right.
Well, there's a lot more to take from this, so I hope everyone was listening and had a notebook just like me. No, I'm kidding. I don't have that standard for everyone. But Shannon, you just gave such a massive crash course. I don't even know if you realized how much you just downloaded for everyone. So thank you so much. This is the first episode. We just did it.
Oh my God.
Like a little, applause. For ourselves. Thank you, everyone, for coming to listen, for tuning in to hear Shannon impart her wisdom. I feel like this was just the most beautiful gift that you could give us. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Sorry, it was a little heavy, but that,
sometimes it is. That's the whole point.
Heavy does heavy lifting, right?
Yep.
It moves the big boulders.
Yeah.
We're not moving. We can move the big boulders. Can you imagine, like, what we can move ourselves into?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much being offered to us. I think there is more good than not good. It's just we have to clear the not good and face it and move forward. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the most perfect parting message. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
It was a joy. Okay, Shannon, for everyone listening right now, they want to learn more from you. They loved this. They were me with the notebook, scribbling furious notes. They want to sponge up more information. How can they connect with you? How can they learn more?
So I just happen to be starting a Foundations of Astrology class. I will have an online offering starting July 6th. It will be a 7-week course. And my in-person, if you are local to San Diego, I will have a group. It will have a limited number, but starting July 2nd on Saturdays for 7 weeks. And you will learn the foundations of astrology, also weaving in some of the ancient astrology techniques, and a numerology foundations class as well.
Amazing.
We'll be shadowing on the same days.
Okay.
We didn't talk about numerology, but numerology is another like...
There's always time for numerology.
To me, it is the quickest way to get in, be able to access really incredible, accurate information without having to spend years studying.
Cool. Wait, we love that.
And I live by numerology every day. It's a part of my practice.
I can't wait to learn that because obviously I'm fully signed up for this.
Yes. Those will be on the same days. Those will be on the same days.
So if anyone is not yet signing up and they want to connect with you online, where can they find you?
moongathering.com. Sign up on the for the newsletter.
Yeah, newsletter.
On the mailing list, or get on the mailing list. And then also at Moon Gathering. That's my Instagram. So that's like my portal to the public.
Yes.
It's the only one I have. That's it.
It's a beautiful portal. We love it. Thank you again. You're amazing.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And a big thanks to our sponsor, my mom, the only subscriber to our Patreon so far. You're the best angel investor, Mom. Again, if you'd like to support our brand new podcast, you can leave a review, subscribe, or head to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/thisisfinepodcast. All one word, no hyphens. Thank you in advance for all of your help and support as we get this going. Thanks for joining us on our first episode of This Is Fine. I'm so glad you're here, and I hope you learned a ton today and are excited for more. I'll see you here next week for an episode featuring one of my all-time favorite psychologists and human beings all around. We're talking about why your self-care isn't working, if you still feel like a shit show, and just how we've been getting through the past couple years with COVID and all the craziness of the world. We're fine. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of This Is Fine. I've been your host, Dominique Michelle Astorino. We're based in San Diego, recording in studio at DLI Productions in Pacific Beach with Emmy Award-winning sound designer Dan De La Isla. This is a comedy and advice podcast, but for legal reasons, this entire podcast is a joke and none of it is medical advice. To download the transcript or learn more, visit thisisfinepodcast.com.